All right, good evening, Inner Circle. Inner Circle Unite. We are talking today about how to sell properties. So we've got a couple of really good things to go over and just some strategies that we can be using and um, some mindset stuff on what we need to be doing when we're selling our properties to other people and strictly are primarily wholesaling properties right now. So we found a good deal. Maybe our neighbor wants to sell. Someone you know inherited a property, and it's not the property that you want to invest in as far as a long-term rental, but might be good for somebody else. And rather than turn it down, you can um, make a couple bucks off of it. So how to wholesale a property, or if this is your primary focus, wholesaling properties, we need to have some basics down so that we make sure that we're living a life of non-chaotic chaos. Um, that's probably the wrong term. So we can have a simple life of selling properties and not having to um, lay in bed at night and say, hey, is this thing really going to close? Some simple steps and some simple things that we can do to safeguard a lot of the things. And at the same time, make sure that you sell it to the right buyers. Okay. So the 4 or 5 parts that we're going to be talking about tonight is building a buyer's list, how we're going to be marketing our properties, what kind of offers should we accept, and how do we write those, or how do we want those offers to appear to us so that we can accept them, and then a brief overview of the closing process. There's going to be other trainings on the closing process and checklists that you might want to employ for your business. I'm going to just kind of talk about them a little bit tonight. I'm not going to go in depth in that, but just things for you to watch out on. But we will touch on that as well. So the 4 or 5 things here is building a buyer's list, marketing properties, offers to accept, and closing process. Let's see. I think that's it. So let's just go ahead and jump right in. All right, so this is a real important process, guys. If you're finding a deal, whether you're going to whatever you're going to do, we've all been talking about this, or I feel like I'm a broken record. The best deals are the ones that have the multiple exit strategies. So, a couple years ago, I was talking talking with Craig, and it just seemed like it was we were talking about wholesaling properties and just kind of like some checklist items, like what do you do when you get something under contract, and it was an interesting conversation. But what he was talking about was he files an NOIS on every single property that he buys the day of closing. The NOIS is the notice of intended sale. He does that because he intends to rehab the property that he bought. But what happens if another great deal comes around and he wants to offload a property that because the other one's a better deal? That's great. Okay, so, or for whatever reason, it's just a better area or a different area or more in his target area, probably is a better way to put it. He'll sell that property off, and it doesn't matter. He spent $28 recording the NOIS. That's fine. Conversely, there's been times where he bought something to wholesale it, and then he said, you know what, I just want to do this one for myself. I just sold a couple rehabs, and for whatever reason, I'm light on projects for my guys, so I'm going to start rehabbing this. Well, he bought it with the intention to that things change, right? Same way with rentals. And so when he would buy a rental, he'd file the NOIS on it, even though he had every intention of keeping it as a rental. But after it's done, maybe the market shifted a little bit and it went up. Maybe a couple other houses sold that raises the value of his house up. Well, shoot, maybe I'll just cash out on this now. When we're looking at these properties, the best deals are the ones that are going to have multiple exit strategies, okay? And, you've all heard me say that before, and I'll probably say it a million more times for the life of that you know me. But the best deals are the ones that have the multiple exit strategies. Not necessarily how much money you can make on it, but It's the safer the deal, the more exit strategies you have. Most of the deals that we buy because we can do several different things. We'll offer it up to the group or offer it up to other people. And if that works for them, then they buy it from us. If no one bites on it, we rehab it. If it doesn't sell, I keep it as a rental. So those are like I've got three ways to get rid of the property, and either way puts dollars into our pockets. So you got to think about when you're building a buyer's list, that's what they're looking for as well, right? And so the best way to build a buyer's list is to go through and talk with people one-on-one. A lot of the folks inside of Inner Circle are buyers, so just meet people at Inner Circle meetings, at bus tours, at 3-day events, at SSIC events, and just get a good feel of who's buying out there. This is building a buyer's list is not a daunting task. This is not something that you need to really stress out about unless you are really going to be trying to move a lot of properties. If you're trying to move a lot of properties, you need 4 or 5 cash buyers. Okay, that's it. Any more than that, that's great. But if you've got 4 or 5 really good cash buyers, then there's no way you're gonna. I mean, if they all buy one property a month, that's 50 properties a year basically that you can wholesale to them. That's a lot of work to do, right? So you don't need to have 3,000 people on your buyers list or 20,000 people on your buyers list. There's ways to grow that and things like that. We're not going to really talk about that aspect of it right now because I think that's just a lot of busy work that right out of the gates we don't need to have 20,000 people on our buyers list. We need to have 3 or 4, maybe 5 really good, strong cash buyers that will buy a property if you send it to them. So when I talk about building a buyers list, that's what we want to do. Okay, there's 15 cash buyers inside of Inner Circle. Just talk to a couple people and say, hey, what are you looking for? Okay, you probably want to have 2 to 3 people per area. So if your focus is South City, then have a couple cash buyers in South City. If you are focusing in South County, have a couple cash buyers in South County. If you're focusing in St. Charles, have a couple cash buyers in St. Charles. If you're focusing in North County, have a couple cash buyers in North County. Same thing with Jefferson County. Wherever your focus is going to be, have a couple good cash buyers there. If your intent is to rehab most of your properties or to keep properties for rental, that's great, but there's still going to be deals that you run across that you don't know what to do with, or it's out of your area, whatever. Sometimes we just can't control that. As much marketing as we do, we still get leads and referrals and all that kind of stuff all over the St. Louis marketplace in St. Charles, and we don't buy in St. Charles, so we just refer that out to other people. But you're still going to get leads in areas that maybe you're not comfortable with or that you don't invest in. You're going to flip that over to somebody else. So we've never really spent a lot of time on this aspect of it, building a buyer's list. You can have a Facebook page that has a form on it that people can enter their information and they can be added to your buyer's list. You can administer that through Constant Contact or MailChimp or one of those email services that you can create a really beautiful email and send it out. You can post it on Facebook. You can do Google AdWords for that. You can do direct mail for people that add to your buyer's list. There's any number of ways if you really want to grow your buyer's list. But at the end of the day, I think networking and boots on the ground is probably the best way to do it. Just see who's buying. Ask around. Who's buying a lot of properties? Where are they buying at? Are you looking for properties? All that kind of stuff. And man, I'm telling you what, you can swing a dead cat and find 20 cash investors tomorrow night at a SSIC's meeting. So it's not hard to do. You just need 3 or 4, maybe 5 really solid, good cash buyers. And you got your buyers list together. Some things that you want to ask them is make sure that they can close, that they have cash. How quickly can they move on something? Because sometimes we get something we got to move quick on. Just start that conversation with them and have a conversation with them and just ask them how they like to operate. And, what's the best way for me to contact you? Should I text you? Should I email you? Should I call you? And just get that information. And really all you need to do is, if you've got a phone, put it in a group on your phone and say, these are my cash buyers, or these are my A list and buyers. That's kind of what we're talking about, is building an A list of buyers, right? A list of buyers, excuse me. And maybe you run across 15 people. All right, that's great. When we get a property, most of the time we send it out to inner circle people first. You guys kind of get first crack at it. You guys don't get all of them, but you get like probably 90% of them. And sometimes we sell properties because someone just walks into the office. Hey, I was in the area. How you doing? Just want to stop in and say hey for a little bit. Just shooting the breeze. And then all of a sudden, they look up at the board and say, hey, what's this? What do you got? You got anything for sale? Yeah, we got a couple of these. Which one do you want to go take a look at? Sometimes we sell properties that way. So that's an instance where you guys might not get about it, or find out about it. We just bought it that day, and someone just happens to come into the office. Or another way that we do it is sometimes we just call our cash buyers. We've called several of several of you guys, where, hey, we just kind of picked this up. Probably going to float it around this number. If you're interested in it, let us know. It seems phone calls are awesome. I can't tell you how many emails that I get and how many emails I don't even open. In fact, if I were to open up my Gmail right now, I probably have like 15,000 unopened emails. I get a lot of emails from agents, from wholesalers, and stuff like that. I try to open them up, especially if it looks interesting. But if someone calls me, I'm going to look at that deal. Same way with your A list of buyers. You want to call people. So if you get a deal, sometimes we do this just by default, because we have a deal that's not in the area that we normally go in, like St. Charles, or especially Illinois. Let's do that. Hey, we got this deal in Illinois. We haven't locked it up yet. Is this something that you would buy for around this price? If so, we can try to go lock it up and get it for you. Boy, that's a real risk-free. You don't make as much money that way because it's hard to put a markup on it, but that's a real low-risk way to put a deal together. I think that's a great way to do it too, because it's low risk, and you know that you almost have a guaranteed buyer. That way, when you go to the property and you get the photos and all that kind of stuff, you can report back the intel and say, okay, it's a little bit better than I thought. It doesn't need as much stuff. It's a pretty nice little property. They're willing to offload it, and let's just put a quick deal together. Okay? So that A list of buyers is really great, because then you can just call them when you have a deal. Even if you have 2 cash buyers, it's so much better than just crafting an email and sending it out. You can also, obviously, well, we're going to get to marketing the properties here in a minute, but posting stuff on Facebook and things like that, and posting the wholesale hub, which we're talking about. But for right now, building that A list of buyers really is a big thing. A very easy thing, excuse me. Like I said, you can go to an SSIC meeting, swing a dead cat, and find cash investors. I think it's a good idea, whatever your focus is, especially if it's wholesaling, but if it's building a rental portfolio, or if it's rehabbing properties, or buying properties for lease option, it's always great to have a couple of really good cash buyers that can close quick, that are ready, willing, and able to drop of the dime, salivating over opportunities. Have those people, call them when you get something instead of sending them an email. Going to get a much better response. So I wouldn't freak out about building a 3 or 4 or 5,000 person buyers list. If you've found a good deal, more than likely a cash buyer is going to take it off your hands that day, if not that week. Okay. The whole name of this business is finding deals, right? Well, the 4 things that we spend time on every single day: finding properties, making offers, finding buyers or tenants, and finding money. Those are the 4 income producing activities that we have to focus on every single day. What are they? Finding properties, making offers, finding buyers and tenants, which is kind of what we're talking about here tonight, and finding money. The highest skill set that a real estate investor can possess is being an expert deal finder and an expert deal putter together. It's probably a better term for that, but you get my gist. Finding deals. If you found a deal that's truly a deal, the numbers work all day long. It fits Mayo, or it fits most other people's house metrics and area metrics, or you do your spreadsheet, our simple property evaluator, and there's cash flow, there's equity capture, good cash on cash return, and good cap rates, all that stuff. If you found yourself a good deal, it's going to be stupid easy to offload that property. So you don't need to build a 5,000 person buyers list. If you have found yourself a potential deal, and you call every cash buyer that you can think of, and you send it out to everybody and their brother, and no one's biting on it, well, you might not have that good of a deal. Okay? So the way the market is right now, you find a deal, you should be able to offload it, and you don't need a 10,000 person buyers list. You need 5 good cash buyers that will buy stuff. There's easily that. You got to find your own. It's simple, easy to do. There's 15 of them, 30, 40 of them probably inside of Inner Circle. So just start there. Then go to SSIC meetings. Start looking on the Wholesale Hub and see, find some people there. Post on Facebook or church groups or bingo nights or whatever. It's just networking, passing out cards. Are you buying properties? Great. Ask them a couple questions. And, when I say cash buyers, preferably cash buyers, but at least someone might have $300,000 of a line of credit. Someone might have approved with every bank in town, and they've already got a bunch of properties, and they can move quick. They might not be paying cash for the property. They might be getting a loan for the property, but either way, they act as a cash buyer. That's what I'm talking about when I say cash buyer. So let's move on from buyers list, building a buyers list. It's not something that we've spent a lot of time on as far as, getting a lead capture system set up on your website and building your buyers list that way. It's just, sorry, I was reading one of the comments, so I kind of got off track. It's just one of the things where when we get to marketing this property, I think you're going to understand why we don't spend that much time on building a huge buyers list. Again, just short and concise. Even if it's 15 people of A-list buyers, all you got to do is start calling there. And if you have 15 people, if you've got yourself a deal in front of you, by the time you call the third or fourth person, it's probably sold. Okay? So you guys say the video is a bit distorted. Anyone else having an issue? Sounds good, though. Well, I have a face for radio, so that might be the problem, first of all. But second of all, I'm trying something a little bit differently. I have my webcam camera up instead of the camera inside of the app. So that's probably the issue. I'm trying to see if this will actually record the video, because none of the webinars that I have ever done, the format that we use, GoToMeeting, will not allow us to, it doesn't record the webcam. So I'm just trying something out. It looks like it might not work, so I might not do it again, but in any event, I was just testing something out. So, okay, let's move on to marketing properties. And this is the Wholesale Hub. Ta-da! This is a website that we started about 5 or 6 years ago. And it's open source, it's free. It is a free service that we provide to SSIC members that allows them to share deals. The whole reason why we did this is because we wanted to clean up the email list on SSIC and on the wholesalehub.com. Excuse me, on the SouthsideInvestmentClub.com, our meetup page. People were sharing deals left and right. It was really clogging it up. So many emails would be sending out. So we said, you know what? No more posting properties on our email chain. Let's have a website that people can post their properties. This is Wholesale Hub 2.0. Still not very perfect, and we haven't spent a ton of money on this to get this to do everything that we wanted to do, but it's because it's free. It even still it costs us money to maintain this and and to make this available to our members. At some point, we are going to switch over and make this a paid site, and I think it's going to start with Inner Circle people will be able to post for free, and then it's going to be like, I don't know, $50 a month to post as much as you want, or $35 to post a listing. I don't really care. It's not going to be a huge money stream for us, and but what it's going to do is allow us to recoup some of the costs, because we got thousands of dollars in developing this and maintaining it and hosting it and all that kind of stuff. It'd be nice to recoup a couple bucks on it, maybe even possibly make a couple bucks off it. That'd be kind of cool. Imagine that. But what this is, guys, is there's thousands of people that are on this mailing list. So if you're on this for any portion of time, you're going to be able to get a little pop-up here that says join our mailing list. Maybe I already got it and I clicked out of it. But let's see. Well, let's see. Get notified. Let's just go there. Go here, be the first to know. You put their email address in, and then you hit subscribe, and then we'll send you out the properties before anybody else sees them and they appear on the website. So we have thousands of people that have been subscribers on this, and so if you think that if it wants you to make you feel better to get thousands of people on your buyers list, well, you don't have to spend a lot of time and money and energy and marketing to do that. We've already done it kind of for you. Okay. This is a great way to market your properties. Also, posting it on Facebook is a good way to do it. If you have a website, if you're an REI Black Book subscriber, putting a website together and posting that on Facebook, putting flyers together and bringing it to the SSIC meetings, bringing flyers together and sending it out to other Inner Circle, or giving it to Inner Circle members at Inner Circle night. I mean, it's really just getting the exposure out to market these properties. If you call cash buy, if you're only relying on cash buyers, well, that's nice and all, and you can make a quick guaranteed profit because they'll buy it, but they also are pretty savvy, right? And so if you have something under contract for 50 and they're willing to pay 57 for it, maybe you'd be able to find someone to pay 61 for it if you did market it a little bit. Okay, so you got to look at that. Well, maybe I should send it out to a couple of folks, because my cash buyers will probably give me 57 for it, but maybe some other person might be willing to pay 59 for it, or maybe 60 or 61 for it. So maybe you want to send that out to other people, and you don't have a buyer's list. Well, this would be a fantastic way to test the waters and see if you can do that. Okay. So let's while we're looking at marketing these properties, let's take a look at what some really good ads are, and what's less than stellar ads are. So obviously for every ad, there is a title, there's the nuts and the bolts of it, there's the price, and there's photos. Okay, so let's take this one right here. Great rental in St. Louis, 50% ROI, return on investment is what it says. So this is 5540 Partridge Avenue. Looks like this photo was taken recently. Is there any other photos here? Doesn't look like it, just the one photo. So we don't know what it looks like inside, but asking $14,000 for it. That's actually a pretty nice looking house for $14,000. But fully brick, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 964 square feet, partially finished lower level, detached garage. Rental meter, 630. That's awesome. 50% ROI. Okay. Return on investment. So really great rental opportunity. This property has been spectacularly maintained by its owners. Here's more pictures in Dropbox. I guess they put the Dropbox link in. And scroll through the photos. Hey, this is kind of a nice, clean little house. Not too shabby. Got a little fix-ups in the bathroom for sure. But he's obviously wholesaling this property. He got photos on it, and if we're if we're trying to sell to a retail buyer, obviously those pictures won't work. But most of the investors that are looking at properties can look past the clutter. It's got an old fuse box in there. Outside looks pretty nice. Looks like it's a working, serviceable house. Got to do some things inside. The electric probably will still work, obviously. It's working now. Old cast iron pipes. Photos are absolutely terrible because of all the junk. But that's okay because it probably wouldn't make sense for him to clean all this stuff out. It's probably a tenant that's currently in there. Maybe the tenant's going to stay. So here's his contact information. Here's the highlights. Main thing is he didn't hide the lead. My dad has been in sales his whole life, and he said never hide the lead. And what he means by that is focus on what's the most important thing about this particular property or this most particular aspect about the product that you're selling, or basically lead with the best is what that means. Okay, don't hide the lead. And this is a great rental in St. Louis, 50% return on investment, which means, you're getting $630 in rents, and that means at the end of the day you're going to get about half your money back within the first year. Okay, so he's not hiding the lead. He's saying 50% return on investment. Rental meter is $630. There you go. Okay, so probably a pretty good ad. Let's go to this one. Rehab in South County, 2-bedroom, 1 bath for $44,500. They're leading with the price, which is $44,000. Let's see this. Not a lot of information. Call or text for lockbox access. Doesn't say who the person is. So not a lot of information. I think they should spend a little bit more time. It just says it's 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, 1 garage. There's not much to go off of here. I have no idea. If I was looking at this, I would have, and I didn't know Bayless, I would have no idea if this is a good deal, a bad deal. The price has no concern for me. If it's worth $150 and it needs $40,000 for the stuff, that's what I want. That's what I need to know. Maybe it's not there because it's only worth $80 and needs $50,000 worth of stuff. I don't know. I'm not trying to dog on this house or this person. I'm just saying, you see the difference? That last property that we were looking at, this is how much you're going to make if you own this property, approximately. This property, you have no clue because he just says what the price is. Okay. Cash in the profits on this stately home. Okay, there's a lot of information here, and there's a lot of photos. So this particular property right here, you can scroll through the photos very easily. You can see what this property looks like. It's got some water damage from the roof. But you scroll through the photos, got lots of photos in there for us to look at. Cash on the profits for this stately home. It's got 6 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. Stately property on a quiet, well-built street within walking distance. Fantastic restaurants, boutiques, etc. An up-and-coming area, both 6 bedrooms, 2 baths, and 2,700 square feet. Needs some TLC, mostly cosmetic. Roof was replaced 10 years ago. Told the leaks are from improper flashing. Original millwork, well, I don't have to read the whole thing, but basically, let's get the nuts and bolts. The average of $73 per square feet on this house. ARV is $200,000. Depending upon what you do to this gem, you may be able to push higher. With all in purchase repair costs just slightly above $100,000, all the rest would be in your pocket. So this person is schlepping this house. Offered for $48,000. Renovation costs $60 to $80. ARV 199 and 220. I think it's depending upon what you do to it. This is actually a property that I own, or we're selling. We just put it up there today. You guys might have seen this one. There could be some really cool profit in this one, guys. But I'm only bringing it up because of all the information that's laid out there. Now let's just step back 1 second. You don't want to lead with false information. Like, you don't want to say, hey, this only needs $5,000 of the work and it's going to be worth $500,000 and anything like that. It's going to be hard for anyone. You have to do your own due diligence early and often when you're buying a property. You guys all know this, right? Don't go off what that guy says. Go off of what you think and what you think you can do to this property. So, and conversely, if you're marketing properties and you're constantly wrong on ARVs or you're constantly wrong on the repair values, life's too short. People are going to stop looking at anything that you send out if you were to send out a bunch of stuff. Okay, so let's be as realistic as you possibly can. This particular property is in an up-and-coming area. So if you put this property in Tower Grove Tower Grove East, this is a $350,000 property. You're not going to get that in this area, but could you get, if you just did the bare minimum, could you get 125? Probably. If you tricked it out, could you maybe get up to 200? The numbers say so. Price per square foot, the numbers say so. In any event, I digress. The whole reason why I looked at this one is because cashing the profits on this stately home, not hiding the lead, have the numbers and the due diligence, a lot more information than this guy right here. I like some of these headlines. Under market value, ranch-style home with fenced yard, 2-car garage in Lemay. It says exactly what it is. Fantastic Fenton. I like that. Easy, easy, easy in Rockport School District. Oh, this is another one of mine. This isn't a Nick Bauer commercial for all of our properties. But this is one that we put up. I actually like that. Easy, easy, easy in Rockport School District. Fantastic Fenton. Okay. Ladue Schools. All right. If you guys notice, whenever I send out an email, I really sit back and try to craft a subject line that's going to get opened. Okay. Something that just says, "Oh, I want to read what Nick just had to say," or "I want to see what the latest news is from Southside," which is it's called copywriting, and this is sales copywriting. Ad writing is what you're doing here, but you want to have something that's going to flash open that's going to say, "Oh, I want to look at this," and rehab in South County for $45,000 or $44,500. It not necessarily saying open me. Great rental in St. Louis, 50% ROI. That says open me. Okay. So yeah, I just wanted to go through and dissect a couple of these. You can tell the person that spent a little time on this and really put the information in and took the time to add photos and really thought about what they're doing. That really means something to me when all the information's there and it's easy for me to say, hey, I want to go take a look at the inside of this property. That's what I think it is. Make it as easy as you can for someone to take a look at and have a snapshot of this house of a realistic numbers, a realistic project wise, and then determine whether or not I want to go take a look at this particular property. So obviously posting it on Facebook to all your friends and family too. I think if you get a property and you have a cash buyers list, I think what you do is you send it to your cash buyers by calling them and emailing them, posting it out on the Wholesale Hub, posting it on Facebook, and if you've got yourself a deal, you're going to get that thing sold. I think it's pretty much that simple. Okay. So as far as that goes, I really don't think we should spend that much more time on this because, I mean, short of going in and submitting a property and show you how to do it on the Wholesale Hub, I think that's kind of useless because it's a simple process. You just submit the property, go in and you got to log in first, and then put all the information in, upload the photos. I think the main stuff is to be as detailed as you can. Have a great flashy title. Don't hide the lead. Say, you know, why someone would want to buy this house, the area or the style of home. The level of rehab is going to be simple, or the return is going to be great if you keep it as a rental. Give all the pertinent information. Get those photos in there, and start waiting for the phone calls. Okay. So going to offers, to getting offers accepted. Or what kind of offers to accept? Let's go there. So what kind of offers to accept? Let's go to right now where this is at clauses for the types of offers that we're going to be doing. We covered this inside of the contract portion of this series for wholesaling, but it's good to kind of recap on this because one of the things I'm going to share here is very, very important if you're wholesaling properties. So here's clauses that we use inside of board approved forms. We are realtors, and so we do have access to the St. Louis Association Board of Realtors forms. This section right here is what I really wanted to hone in on here, and hopefully you guys can see it. When selling property in a wholesale transaction, property is being sold as is, with seller to do no repairs, provide inspections, or make any guarantees or warranties as to the condition of the property. This is the biggest thing right here. Sale is contingent upon buyer successfully acquiring the property prior to the closing date of this contract. Okay. Why do you think this clause would be very is so imperative? Sale is contingent upon buyer successfully acquiring the property prior to the closing date of this contract. This is a big deal because if we have something under contract and we are selling it to, let's just take Vic Meldrum. Vic says, hey, Nick, I'll buy this property off you. Okay, great. We write up a sales contract. We closing on it in 2 weeks. And for whatever reason, the buyer or the seller that we're buying it from skips town. Can't find him. We can't track him down. Try to do everything. Well, Vic says, Nick, I'm going to sue you because we have a contract to sell this property. What? Vic, I thought you were a nice guy. He goes, well, you thought wrong. Okay. Well, Vic is a nice guy, and he's probably not going to do that. But if I'm selling property to someone who I don't know, okay, I don't know if that guy's a nice guy or not. If I have a sales contract with someone to sell a property that I have an interest in, which if I have a property under contract, I have an interest in that property. And if I can't deliver on my transaction, I could potentially get myself in some kind of legal tricky situation, and I don't want to do that. So this contract is contingent upon successfully acquiring the property prior to the closing date of this contract. Most of the properties that we sell, we already take title to in some fashion. So if it's something that we already own, we don't need to put this clause in. But it's a pretty imperative clause to have if you're going to wholesale this property to somebody else. Okay, if you have it under contract and you have an interest in that property and you're selling the property, you want to make sure that you're making your contract with the buyer contingent upon you closing on that property so that you don't avoid any legal issues should something come up with a seller. Okay. And if we're selling it to a cash buyer, okay, or when we're selling it, the things that we want to do is we're not going to provide a seller's disclosure statement. In most cases, we've been in the house once, so we don't know anything about it anyway. And we want to sell it to a cash buyer with little to no contingencies. So not contingent on financing, sewer scope inspection. To us, that's a pretty clean contract if they have those two things. Okay. Now, for some newer investors, will we let them have an inspection period? Sure. I mean, absolutely. You want every house that you buy, you should have an inspection on, unless you've done it several times and you know what to look for. Every house you buy anyway, you should always have a sewer scope inspection. That's the only thing you can't see. Spend the $160, $165, whatever it is. Have them scope out the sewer for informational purposes to know, hey, am I going to have to do this or not? Okay. But we want when we sell it, we don't want someone to fart around and say, okay, well, if it rains on Tuesday, I want $500 off, and I want this, and I want this, and I want this, and I want to have an inspection period, and then I'm going to come back and negotiate with you and try to get another $5,000 off. When we do this, it's pretty much have your inspections for informational purposes. Okay. We don't want to, because sometimes these transactions, they might be thin. We might be a small margin here, and it's not going to be, oh, you can have your inspections, but you're not going to be able to try to get another $15,000 off the price. Let's agree to a good price. It's fair for both sides, and let's go. Okay. Now, if it comes back and there is major stuff that no one knew about, would we try to work something out? I mean, we're reasonable people, right? But we don't want to go into a transaction. And most other wholesalers are like this, and most buyers are like this. So I'm not saying that this isn't out of the norm. It's just we want to make sure that when we sell a property, we want to try to sell it to a cash buyer with the strongest offer with little to no contingencies, okay? Another PSS here is we rarely assign a contract, okay? If we assign a contract, it's because we already have it under contract with the new buyer. But what I mean by this is, or what I mean by that is this. If we have a property that we're selling and we have it under contract and we're selling it, say we sell it to Vic, okay, we're going to do a double close, meaning we're buying it for 45, we're selling it to Vic for 50, and Vic doesn't know what we bought it for. Vic might think we're getting it for 15 or 49, somewhere in between there. I don't know. But he doesn't care. He's buying it for 50. He's going to put his 20 into it. It's going to be worth 110. It's a good deal for him. It's a good deal for us. We go from there. We rarely assign contract because actually I used to do more assignments, but the more I did them, the more I don't like them, kind of thing. It's not you don't really contractually assign your rights away. You still are your name's still on that contract, and if you assign a contract to someone and they don't perform, you still might be on the hook to do that. So we'll assign a contract to maybe one or two people that we've sold a lot of properties to, and they're cash, and I know their kids' names, and I know they're going to close and that kind of stuff. But more often than not, we'll do a double close. The double close only adds about $500 worth of title fees and closing fees and stuff like that, so it doesn't add a tremendous amount. Actually, it's a little less than 500, but it doesn't add that much to the transaction. If we do end up assigning a property, what we'll do is we'll get it under contract as if we were going to do a double close, and then a day or so before closing, we'll ask to convert that over to an assignment, which will save us about $500 then in closing costs. If they're willing to do that, then we'll assign it over, and we'll use that assignment form that's also in this property here. Okay. Or excuse me, that's also in this this folder here, assignment of contract. Okay. But yeah, this is a really simple way to do this. Property is being sold as is with seller no repairs. Provide inspections or make any guarantees or warranties as to the condition of the property. Sales contingent upon buyer successfully acquiring the property prior to the closing date of this contract. And what we're looking for is a cash buyer, not contingent upon financing, with little to no contingencies. You know, it's the age-old question. It's the age-old statement. Cash is king. If we're marketing a property for 80,000 and we have offers of 81, 82, and we have a cash offer at 78 with no contingencies, we're taking that deal. I mean, cash is king, right? Unless the 81 or 82 is someone that's getting a loan, they bought several properties from us before, and they've got a good track record and all that kind of stuff. Well, yeah, maybe we would do that. But for all intents and purposes, we want to try to take the cleanest cash deal that we possibly can. So that's what we're looking for. And we want to make sure that if we just own this property by contract, meaning our interest in the property is because we have it under contract, then we want to make sure that we have this clause in there, that sale is contingent upon buyer successfully acquiring a property prior to the closing date of this contract. So let's see if there's anything else that I wanted to say about selling a property. I guess it's worth mentioning here that a joint venture might be something that you might want to do. We have a joint venture document, but we do not have it on SSIC Inner Circle's website. A joint venture would be something that if you're going to co-wholesale a property with someone. If, let's say that you run across a property, you think, hey, I think this is a really good deal. I just don't have time to go out and get it under contract and sell it, or I've got it under contract. I just don't have any time to sell it. I'm going on vacation. I don't want to fart around with this. Well, call me up, call Angie up, or whatever. We can co-wholesale that deal with you, and we can send it out to our cash buyers. And we've got some really strong ones, guys, by the way. We can send it out to our cash buyers, and we'll just split the marketing fees with you, or we'll split the profit with you. It's called a joint venture agreement, and it's a pretty simple transaction. That document protects us, and also will help us. What gives us the authority to market the property for you, or with you, and we both have a vested interest in the property. And there'll probably be more on that once we roll out the new Dropbox and we can have all of our documents in that place. But it's just worth mentioning that you can co-wholesale a property with somebody and do that through a joint venture agreement, and that's something that we can discuss at a later date. Or if you have any interest in that, you can just always call into the office, and I can get you either a copy of it or talk about a deal that you might have, and maybe we could do a co-wholesale together. So that's pretty much like Forrest Gump, all I got to say about that. Going to the closing process now, since we're talking about selling to a cash buyer. So we found a great property. We called our buyers on our buyers list. We got someone to buy it from us. We didn't have to market the property, and we looked at and also we marketed the property. Excuse me. So we called our cash buyers. We marketed the property. We got a couple offers. We picked the best one, the best terms. It's a good deal for them. It's a good deal for us. It's just a good real estate transaction. The closing process. It's really not that difficult to do. But I wanted to bring this up here. Let's see, Nick's Nook, under Nick's Nook here. I've got a bunch of checklists in here, and I'm going to briefly talk about these. But before I do, the process is you have submitted everything to the title company. Okay, let's say that you have title company X. You have a contract to buy the property. You call title company X and say, hey, listen, I've got this contract to purchase this property. It's closing on July 31st. Okay? Actually, July 31st isn't a date, is it? Is it July 30th? I don't even know. I mean, is this a fictitious date? And it's inconsequential. It is a real date. June only has 30 days, right? So July 31st, it's closing on July 31st. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to sell that property also on July 31st. I've got another, someone's going to buy it off me that day. You've already screened Title Company X. They know that you are a prominent investor, that you know what you're doing. You're not some Yahoo. They will play ball with you. They'll close that deal. And they may or may not require, depending upon your relationship with them, to table fund the deal. Table funding means if you're buying it for $40,000, you have to bring $40,000 to the table. If you're selling it for $45,000, then he brings $45,000 to the table, and you get your $40,000 plus $5,000 that day. Table funding means you're bringing money to the closing table. Dry funding it uh, uh, means you can use the $45,000 to actually fund your $40,000 transaction. You keep the spread of $5,000. Our title companies that we use, Insight Title, Freedom Title, will absolutely do that. We've got a great working relationship with them that works. Um, we want to have an investor-friendly title company that we work with. Shouldn't be an issue. It might change sometime in the future. There's always rumors going around that, hey, this might go away. I'm not sure. I'm not real up on that right now. If there's legislation coming down the pike that might happen, I don't know. But as far as I know, the title companies that we do them all the time, so you can still do that. If you do need a table funded transaction, it's also referred to as transactional funding, and you can get funding for one day. A lot of hard money lenders will do that, and some people are set up just specifically for that type of transactional funding. They'll just fund something for one day, so you can circumnavigate that process. But you actually have two closings. One when you buy the property, and one when you're selling it. It's all going to happen on the same day. And really, once you've submitted over everything to the title company, they might ask for your LLC docs. They might ask for your EIN number, a certificate of good standing from the state of Missouri. They might ask for all the pertinent documents, unless you've already got those to the title company. But look at the dates on your contract. Do you have any contingencies on your date? Do you have any contingencies on the contract that you accepted? Put those all in your calendar and say, well, my inspection period ends on the 20th. You want to make sure that when you're selling it, that if he has an inspection period, that it ends before then, right? Maybe his ends on the 18th, so that you know that, hey, this is going to be a done deal. Mark, if his is not contingent upon financing, well, then you don't have to worry about this part. But if he's getting a loan and his loan contingency date is the 25th, you want to make sure that you've got loan commitment by that date, so that you can you don't have to scramble and try to fund this deal because he can't get the loan. So basically, just look at the contract, look at all the dates that you have, plug them into your calendar, and there's really not much more to do if you're selling it to a cash buyer. You might have to switch out utilities and stuff like that, but that's why I bring up these checklists here, because this is going to be a really easy way for you guys to not go to bed at night and say, hey, did I switch out this utility? Okay, so on every deal that we do, we've got a choosing checklist. It's getting late here, guys. A closing checklist. And what is this? Change the water bill, change the sewer bill, change the trash bill, change electric, change gas bill, file the NOIS immediately. And then, is the water on the property? Is the lockbox installed? What is the code? Multiple keys made, lawn care ordered. This is our closing checklist. And I give this to my assistant, Nicole, who absolutely loathes Spire, by the way. She made that, she voiced her concern over about a 10-minute rant today at the office. I had to shake her and say, it's not that bad. Spire's not that bad. She goes, but they are so bad. And if anyone's ever tried to turn utilities or gas on it in the new Spire, it can be kind of a pain. So I feel for her. But my tax ID number is on this for my company. all the pertinent information, and all the bills are in Real Estate Rehab LLC's name. She files this over, puts it in, she files all this correctly, or she does all these things correctly, and then she puts it in the file and files it away. Every deal, whether we're buying a property or selling a property, because when we buy it, we got to change all this stuff over to our name. When we sell it, we got to change it out of our name. So most of the deals that we do that we wholesale, we have 2 closing checklists. Okay. We also, if we're buying a property, we have a buyer packet checklist. Let me open this up here. So this is what I want in the file. I want all these things. If it's in bold, it's required. If it's not in bold, then if we have it, put it in there, but it's not required. This is just basically all the stuff: property tax records, any comps that we might have, repair estimates, the contract with any riders that we have to it, if there are any, if there's a seller's disclosure statement, lead-based paint inspection notice, all that kind of stuff I want to be in the file when I look through the files and audit them. This is what I want to have in every file when we buy a property. Same way when we sell a property, and these are available to you. This really just makes life simple if you have all this stuff organized. We try to be as organized as we can in this chaotic world of real estate. And it's, I'm going to spend a lot more time on this in another training. I just wanted to mention this because this is part of the sales process, right? What's really nice is we have a submission cover page, and this goes in every file as well. So the submission cover page is basically who are all the players in the transaction. Let me blow this up a little bit. This is our wiring instructions. So when we are selling a property or buying a property, we have this submission form that we send over to all the title companies, lenders, whoever we're using. Everybody that's a player in the transaction has this information. Up here in the red box is our wiring information. So when we have a closing, they just wire us the funds into our account. Here's all the pertinent information: property facts, property address, if it's listed, the MLS number, the final price that we're paying for it, when we're under contract, if there's any inspection contingencies or loan contingencies date, how much earnest money, where is it held at, who's the buyer or the buyer's agent, who's the listing agent or the seller. Obviously, it's me if I'm selling the property. All of our information, all of the buyer's information. If it's just the buyer and there's no agents involved, well, we're not going to fill that part out. But maybe the buyer's closing at U.S. Title and we're closing at Insight Title. Well, we want to know that, and we want to have this in the file, and it's just a submission cover page. That way, if for whatever reason you have to switch title companies or switch lenders or whatever, you can just send this over to whoever party that needs to have this. And if you got 3 or 4 properties going on at once, you can flip through your files and say, oh, okay, we're closing this one up at Insight, we're closing this one up at Old Republic, we're closing this one up at Freedom Title, whatever. It's just nice to stay organized and to have this stuff together. You can download this, change out the logo on this, and put all your information in there, and it just makes things very organized and very safe. But pretty much all the stuff that I was talking about with your inspection contingency and your loan contingency dates and all that kind of stuff will be on here. Also pop that into your calendar, and then you'll know what timelines are expected. So with the closing process, if you guys ever have a question about that kind of stuff, feel free to just call on in, and I'll walk you through it. It's really not that hard. The title company that you work with will walk you through it as well. Just what dates you need to be aware of, what you need to provide over to them, what documentation, what all that kind of stuff. It's pretty simple, guys. And if you need a walkthrough on it, I would be more than happy to spend a few moments with you and help you out if you have an issue or whatever. So, yeah, it's really not that intimidating. after you know what you're doing. So in any event, these are the checklists that we use. Also in this section, we have a notice of intended sale. We've got a lease and house rules and regs for those leases. But what I wanted to show you was these checklists because this is a part of the sales process and the closing process and can make things go smooth and organized so that it's not chaotic. The biggest thing is paying attention to the dates in the contract if there's any type of contingencies on both sides, and then also having a some sort of checklist process that allows you to turn utilities on or turn utilities off if you're taking title to a property and you need to do that. So you might have a deal that you buy, but you got to close it in 7 days, and you're getting it for 50, and you know all day long you're going to be able to sell that for 60 or 65. It's a really simple deal. And you might even have it under contract, but they can't close it in time. Like, hey, I can buy this, but I need 2.5 weeks to get my lender together. Well, if you can buy it for 50 and they're buying it for 65, close on the damn thing and make your $15,000, right? Even if you got to get a loan to do that, you want to do that deal, right? So, but when you buy on it, you're going to have to turn all the utilities over into your name. You're also going to have to turn them off of your name, and that's where that get them out of your name, and that's where that closing checklist can really come into play. Logistics. I want to say one or two more things on this, and then we'll be done on this topic. But logistically, if you're buying it and selling it the same day, okay, you're closing on July 31st. I'm buying it for 45. I'm selling it to Vic for 50. And I'm doing it all on the same day, then I'm going to probably close in the morning, my portion with the seller. At the same time, I'm going to sign documents for Vic's transaction with me, and then Vic's going to come in a little bit later, and he's going to sign his documents. And then what's going to happen is I'm going to have the proceeds from the sale wired over to me, and it's a pretty stinking easy process. It's not very hard. Ask questions early and often of your title company. If anything is, if you have a question about anything, you can call us, or preferably call your title company and make sure that you know exactly what you need to bring to closing. If you do have to table fund it or use transactional funds, or if you don't have to, and you can use their funds to fund your transaction, make sure that the timing's all there. Title company will help walk you through that, no question. If you want a smooth closing, that you're not laying awake at night in your bed saying, oh my gosh, this is going to close, or this is so complicated, or whatever. That's why there's something really to be said about just selling to a cash buyer. Even though you might be able to make a couple extra bucks as someone else, boy, a cash buyer that knows what they're doing, it's hard to talk me out of taking their offer. It really is, because and you can use my experiences on that for you guys to know that if you are selling a property and you see a cash buyer come through, it's hard to pass that up, because if they don't have a financing contingency, that means they're a strong enough borrower or strong enough buyer to be able to do that. It just eliminates a lot of headaches. No, you don't have to worry about appraisals. You don't have to worry about this. You don't have to worry about that. And I'm not dogging on people that use loans. I use loans, so I'm not saying that. But I also can write a cash contract, meaning it's not contingent upon financing, because I know my financing is I will be able to finance that property. I'm taking that contingency away. So yeah, in fact, most of the deals that we write offers on as not contingent upon financing, I'm still getting a loan on, and that cash buyer could still get a loan on it if he's buying it from you, or she's buying it from you. It's just that contingency isn't there, and they're confident in their ability to borrow money, so they can call themselves a cash buyer. So we covered a lot of ground. I'm not sure that I've said everything I needed to on building a buyer's list, marketing properties, what kind of offers to accept, and the closing process. But I wanted to give an overview of this, and just basically, at the end of the day, don't overcomplicate things. Don't make this too hard. You don't need 10,000 people on your buyer's list. You need a handful of really good cash buyers or people that can act as cash buyers, um, or have really good lendability. Okay. When you market a property, you got to make sure you put as much information as you can so someone can see a snapshot of this deal. Don't hide the lead. Have a nice flashy title in there so people can see. We'll want to open it up and say, hey, tell me a little bit more about this information. We walk through the type of offers to accept, what kind of contingencies, what kind of clause that we need to have when we're selling it to a new buyer to protect us, and then kind of briefly walk through the closing process. And I know we covered a lot of ground, so if you have any questions, speak now or forever hold your peace. And if not, we will conclude this session. So does anyone have any questions, comments, or concerns? Okay. Well, I guess I did a much better job at explaining this than I thought then. So, guys, it's been real. It's been fun. It's been real, real fun. So, if you do have any questions on any of the materials that we covered tonight, please let me know. It's not hard. It's not. It's not necessarily easy. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. But I think this is good material to cover because you never know when you're going to run across a deal that just isn't for you, but you know it's for somebody else. And knowing how to do this is paramount to being a well-rounded investor, and that's what we're all striving to be, is doing this business on a full-time basis, and making lots of money from lots of different ways. Wholesaling is a good staple to have in your back pocket. Again, even if your focus is rentals and rehabs, we want to make sure that we have this process down, because you're going to run across deals that doesn't exactly fit what you want to invest in, or might not be the area, or you might have too many projects going on and you can't get to it, so you want to get offloaded to somebody else. Understanding this process is key. Thanks, guys. We will see you shortly. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please let me know. And like always, Nick signing off. We'll see you at the top or from the top. Talk to you soon.